Siberia is one of the largest regions on Earth, bigger than entire continents, larger than most countries combined. It contains endless forests, enormous rivers, massive reserves of oil, gas, gold, and minerals worth trillions of dollars, and yet almost nobody lives there. Huge parts of Siberia remain nearly empty. Thousands of kilometers of wilderness with barely any human presence. Entire roads disappear into frozen nothingness. Cities stand isolated for months under endless snow. And in some places, temperatures become so cold that simply breathing outside can become dangerous. So why is Siberia still so empty? Why hasn't humanity conquered one of the largest territories on Earth? Because surviving in Siberia is far more terrifying than most people realize. Siberia stretches across northern Russia all the way to the Pacific Ocean. The region is unimaginably massive. It covers around 70% of Russia's landmass. But despite its enormous size, only a small percentage of Russia's population actually lives there. And the reason becomes obvious the moment winter arrives. In many parts of Siberia, temperatures collapse below -40 degrees Celsius, sometimes even colder. At those temperatures, car engines freeze, metal becomes dangerous to touch, and exposed skin can suffer frostbite within minutes. Entire landscapes transform into frozen deserts. Roads vanish beneath snowstorms. Rivers freeze solid. The air itself feels hostile. Some Siberian towns experience winters lasting nearly half the year. Darkness dominates daily life. The sun barely rises, and survival becomes a constant battle against the environment itself. One of the coldest inhabited places on Earth is located in Siberia, a tiny settlement called Oymyakon. Temperatures there once dropped below -70 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze eyelashes instantly. People leave their cars running for hours because engines may never restart once frozen. Water pipes stop functioning. Electronics fail. Even simple tasks become dangerous. Children still walk to school through freezing darkness. Life continues, despite conditions that seem almost impossible for human civilization. And yet, millions of square kilometers surrounding places like this remain nearly empty. Because extreme cold is only part of the problem. Siberia is also incredibly isolated. Huge distances separate towns and cities. In many regions, there are few roads, few railways, almost no infrastructure. Some settlements can only be reached by helicopter, winter ice roads, or rivers during warmer months. And during storms, entire communities can become completely cut off from the outside world. Imagine living somewhere where basic supplies must travel thousands of kilometers through snow, forests, and frozen wilderness just to reach your town. Food becomes expensive, construction becomes difficult, maintaining infrastructure becomes incredibly costly. Simply building houses in Siberia is a challenge because much of the land sits on permafrost, ground permanently frozen beneath the surface. When permafrost melts, roads crack, buildings collapse, pipelines become unstable, entire towns can slowly sink into the earth itself. Climate change is now making this problem even worse. As temperatures rise, parts of Siberia are warming faster than many other regions on Earth. Ancient frozen ground is beginning to thaw. Scientists fear this could release enormous amounts of methane trapped beneath the ice for thousands of years. And methane is one of the most dangerous greenhouse gases in the world, meaning Siberia could play a major role in Earth's climate future. But despite all these dangers, Russia still depends heavily on Siberia, because beneath the frozen wilderness lies enormous wealth: oil, natural gas, coal, gold, diamonds, rare minerals. Siberia contains some of the largest natural resource reserves on Earth. Entire cities were built around mining and energy production, especially during the Soviet Union. The Soviet government aggressively pushed industrial expansion into Siberia during the 20th century. Factories appeared in remote regions. Railroads stretched across frozen landscapes. Prison labor camps known as gulags operated throughout Siberia under brutal conditions. Millions of people were sent there during Stalin's rule. For many prisoners, Siberia became a place of suffering, forced labor, and death. Its isolation made escape almost impossible. The frozen wilderness itself became a prison, even today. Abandoned Soviet towns still exist across parts of Siberia. Empty apartment blocks, rusting factories, forgotten rail stations swallowed slowly by snow and silence. Ghost towns left behind after industries collapsed or populations disappeared. And that emptiness gives Siberia a strange atmosphere unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. It feels endless, silent, almost post-apocalyptic. But despite its terrifying reputation, people still choose to live there. Some because of work, others because families have lived there for generations. And many residents describe Siberia differently than outsiders do. Not as a frozen nightmare, but as a place of strength, survival, and freedom. The forests are enormous. Nature feels untouched. Cities remain quieter than overcrowded urban centers elsewhere in the world. And in some areas, community bonds become incredibly strong because survival often depends on cooperation. But life there remains harsh. Winter dominates everything. Isolation shapes daily existence. And nature constantly reminds people how small humans truly are. Perhaps that is why Siberia fascinates so many people around the world. Because in the modern age, most humans live surrounded by technology, convenience, and constant connection. But Siberia still feels wild, uncontrolled, a place where nature continues to overpower civilization. And maybe that is the real reason so few people live there. Not because Siberia lacks resources, not because it lacks space, but because the environment itself resists human expansion. The cold, the isolation, the darkness, the endless wilderness. Together, they create one of the most difficult places on Earth for civilization to fully conquer. Night falls across the frozen landscape. Snowstorms move through endless forests beneath dark skies. Tiny lights glow from isolated towns surrounded by thousands of kilometers of wilderness. And beyond those lights, nothing but silence, ice, and emptiness stretching toward the horizon forever.